Miglani, best-selling author of Embrace the Chaos. Today, I want to talk to you about two important factors, two important pieces of the puzzle that can help your organization change and grow. I get I get a lot of calls from leaders and executives and CEOs. I met a CEO the other day and he said, "Bob, we're not growing." And I said, "Well, how come?" And he said, "Well, I know the marketplace is very saturated and it's becoming very difficult." And I said, "Well, how much has your organization changed?" He goes, "Well, we're moving ahead. We're doing all these changes. We're doing these initiatives, but fundamentally, what I find is that growth is there, change is not." And what I mean by that is that organizations today, I think, have a tremendous opportunity to grow, but what they've failed to do often, not all the time, but what they're failing to do is changing to adapt to the new marketplace that we live in today. And so what you have to do is two very important things as leaders to encourage our people in our organization to move forward and adapt to these changes that we live in today. If you've ever been in a relationship, you know how difficult it is to try to change somebody. You can't. We can't change people. People have to make a choice themselves to change. History has demonstrated that people will give their lives for freedom of choice. I read from a book called Influencer. And the point of that story, the point of that quote is that, you can't force people to change. What we can do is to encourage them to make a choice. Be curious about how they think that they can change and adapt to this new marketplace. So that's the one fundamental tenet, what I believe we want to help people change our organization. Give them a choice. Ask them. Don't tell them, but ask them. But I want to share with you today two very important pieces of the puzzle that are required to get our organization to change and to move to a new direction. Right? The first is when you're trying to change, you have uncertainty, right? You have uncertainty. The future is not clear. Okay, what colleagues, your staff, your team have is clarity of the current, which is a mess. Numbers are down, we're not making our numbers, we have these problems, oh, this system is down, or we're trying to do this, It's overwhelming for people when you go through change. And so what we have to do when we're facing uncertainty, just one other thing is that when people are facing uncertainty, what are they likely going to do? They're going to try to create situations and scenarios of a future that is dire and doom and gloom. Very negative scenarios. If left up to their own device, people will create a very negative future when they're facing uncertainty. And so as leaders, what you have to do is to create a clear and compelling vision of what that reimagined future looks like. In other words, you have to give them certainty. And so what you have to do is to create an environment for them by helping them move forward, by giving them the reimagined future that you see, that you think the organization is going to look like, the marketplace is going to look like. And why do we do this? Why do we do this as leaders? Why do we have to create an environment for people to change and to adapt? And it's because we're all human beings. We don't want to change because it's painful. It's hard. It's very difficult. And so, it's what we have to do is if we don't give them a future of what that future would look like, they're just going to resort to the past. And so that's going to lead you nowhere. Let me give you an example of creating content, creating an environment, and why this is important to create that kind of environment. I tried to exercise in the morning, very, very early in the morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. It was very difficult. Initially I'd been commuting to the city for my office for many, many years, into corporate headquarters in New York City on 42nd Street in Midtown. And so I would rush out of bed in the morning, rush to the bus, take the commute to the city an hour and a half every day. And, I'd work out whenever I could at the fitness center and in the office. But when I left my corporate job, my corporate career, I wanted to get up earlier and around that time, 4:30, 5 o'clock, to force myself to go exercise in the morning because I believed in it. But I wasn't really compelled. And so I started creating an environment around myself to compel me to do that. So at night before, while I was brushing my teeth, I'd put my workout clothes next to me by where I was brushing my teeth in the morning. And so I would put, all, the t-shirt and everything laid out very clearly. So I would have to think the next morning, oh, what am I going to wear to the gym today or work out or for the run? And then what I would do is I'd take socks and put them in my sneakers. I would untie the shoelaces of my sneakers and put it by my bedside. Because I know me, and what would happen is I'd get up in the morning, look for my sneakers, find that they were tied, and every time I would find an excuse to get out of there and not work out, okay? Because we don't like pain, we don't want to suffer, and so it's very hard to work out. To force you to get to that point. After 5 minutes into the workout, you feel great, but getting to that point is very difficult. So what did I do there? I created an environment for myself to make change a little bit easier. And that's what I suggest you do, is to help your colleagues, make that environment for them easier for them to change and to embrace that change, to adapt. And one way we do that is by continuously communicating what a reimagined future looks like. Create certainty by giving them a clear idea, a clear visual of a reimagined future of your organization. How can they benefit from the change and the hard work that they're going to have to put in to move the organization to the future? How can they benefit? So that's point one. Create certainty by creating a reimagined future, what that looks like. All right, second piece of the puzzle that I talk about that are important to get people to change. Change is difficult. It's because it's uncomfortable. People don't like it. Human beings move away from pain and move towards desire. But we know change is hard. We know that the actions they're going to have to take is hard. So how do we convince them that the hard path is the path to go? You be honest with them. You have to be honest with people and say, look, this is not going to be easy, but it's going to be really hard. We're going to have to ask people to do what they've never done before, and have a frank conversation with them about that. And I'll tell you why we ask them to do what's hard. And the reason is because that's where the growth is. Hard path is where the growth is. The mind is a muscle and it requires tension and resistance to grow. If you want to grow, you've got to do something that's hard. And why in business, why in our marketplace do we have to do what's hard? Is because when you do something that's really, really hard, your competition can't follow you. And therefore, what you have is, have growth. When you have less competition, you get growth. Your advertising dollars, your marketing expenses go down, and you've got increased profitability. And so we have to do what's hard in life. You have to create what in the startup culture they call a moat around your business. You have to create a high barrier of entry. And the only way to do that is to do what's hard. In human beings, fundamentally, we know that that's what we have to do in order to be competitive. And so I believe that as leaders, the second part of that puzzle is we have to encourage them to take the hard path. Create certainty in an uncertain environment by reimagining what a positive outcome of future looks like. And we have to encourage doing what's hard. And that means as a leader, you have to enable that. So you have to reward that. You have to give them tools and empower them to take action, to do the difficult things, and give them time. I know we don't have a lot of time, but you've got to give them time to experiment and to try things and to fail and to see how things go. So let me wrap up. I believe we're living in times of profound change, uncertainty, complexity, randomness, and speed. We are living in disruptive times. And in order for us to grow, in order for you to grow, and for your organization to grow, we've got to change. And change requires, number one, creating certainty of what a reimagined future looks like, because uncertainty will only make people go back to the past, all right? And to create negative scenarios. So you've got to create certainty of a reimagined future. That's how you address the first problem, first piece of the puzzle. And the second is we have to enable people to do what is hard and what's difficult, because that will create a moat around your business that no one else can follow and no one else can do. This is Bob Miglani. I hope this message, these tips have been useful for you. I do this because I want to add value to what you're trying to do. Give me a call if you have any questions. With love and respect for all that you do. This is Bob Miglani. Have a great day. Take care.